Hey y'all. Just wanted to share some thoughts with you, or some, how would I say, just some things that I have noticed or seen. But I wanted to start off with a story about, I had posted a little earlier about an officer, Mike Giraldi. He's in PSA 4, and I just found out today that he passed away from an aneurysm. But the story is kind of about COVID and a lot of different things that we have going on now. So 2 3 weeks ago, Mike called me to ask a question about something or some advice about something, and we got to talking on the phone and was talking about different things, and then we talked about uh, retirement. Like we're around the same time, so just about leaving the job and thinking about leaving and different things like that. And we were having a good conversation, and I was like, wow. I said, I met Mike maybe about 10 years ago. I was in Manhattan on a detail. I don't actually remember what the detail was. And Mike, he said, hey, you from the 113 precinct? I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, my wife is going to be working in the school in the 113th. So can you look out for her? I said, oh, you know it. I said, no problem. I can do it. Um, Lo and behold, she worked in the school right next door to the precinct, which was kind of funny. So I go in there just to make contact with her and say, hey, Mike told me to look out for you, and whatever you need, just come next door, and then we'll take care of you. So as time went on, I'll check on her, or we'll tell jokes, or whatever. And every so often, I'll speak to Mike. So just like 2 3 weeks ago, or I would say 3 weeks ago, we were talking on the phone, and I was like, wow, I wish, we got to know each other better, earlier, because then we could be in full swing of a friendship, right? So we talked, and I said, you know what? I'm not good at calling people, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a reminder, and hey, every 2 weeks we're going to check in with each other until retirement. So when today, when I seen the post that he passed away, I'm like, you know, this is another one. This is another person that passed. This time, I guess it wasn't COVID, but another person that passed away. Because to go back, going through COVID as a police officer and dealing with those different things, all the many deaths, that I've experienced in my family or close people to me, that passed away. I was just telling someone the other day, I said, what's crazy? There's a couple of phone numbers I got to delete out of my phone because you can't call them anymore. They're not here. So I was starting off with talking about Mike because what I realized is I shouldn't even waited 2 weeks to just give him a call, right? Like setting arbitrary times. We should call people when we're thinking about them, or we should reach out to people when we're thinking about it, because at the end of the day, if this pandemic haven't taught us anything, is that life is very fragile, and before you know it, you could be gone, right? So, like I was saying about the beginning of the pandemic, we were losing people left and right. Sometimes we'll go and check on someone in their house, and you have to either take the door down, or you have to climb in a window, or do something to get into the house, and then come to find out they're laying in the bed, they're sitting on the couch, they're sitting at the kitchen table, and they passed away, right? You had officers wearing hazmat suits because it was COVID. You had freezer trucks at the hospitals. You had the funeral home. I'm pretty sure you've seen in the news. The funeral home had so many bodies, they didn't know what to do with the bodies. I mean, this time period is unprecedented. And you don't have to be a soldier to experience PTSD, because I'll be honest with you, I think the entire population of the world, definitely the entire population of New York City, is going to be dealing with PTSD. And mental health is a big thing. Stress is a big thing, because aneurysms and things like that, I only can contribute it to stress, regardless of whatever the medical science is saying or whatever. I think it's stress, and I think stress takes a big toll on your body. And I think a lot of people are walking around and not paying attention and taking inventory of what's going on in their life. How are you dealing with it? How are you relieving some of that stress? I see a lot of people are working out. They're going to the park and they're doing different things, which is a great stress reliever. But don't forget to take other time for yourself to correct all of this that's going on, because this level of stress is going to be hard for anyone. Another thing that I was saying is appreciate people that's in your life. If they contribute positively to your life, appreciate them, right? Like, appreciate everything about them. Appreciate who they are. Sometimes we judge people for whatever, by our own standards. But at the end of the day, we have to meet people where they are. We have to appreciate them for who they are. Think about what they've contributed to your life and praise them while they're alive, right? I always say to people, give me my roses while I'm alive, right? If you're thinking about, like, whatever you would do in my death, make sure you do it while I'm alive, so I know how much you care for me. Because this time period is full of uncertainty. I was just watching the news, and I don't think I've really seen anything positive on it, and it's been on for about 24 minutes. I haven't seen anything positive, right? So that's another word of advice I would tell you is get whatever you're going to get from the news and shut it off. Because right now we at a level of anxiety, uncertainty. We have leaders that we just don't even think that they know what's going on. So, what I would tell you is, if you're a leader of your house, you have to do what's good for you to be strong, to be positive, because believe it or not, those people in your house are looking for you to give them guidance, right? Also, your family, I'm pretty sure most of us that was on lockdown, well, I wasn't on lockdown, so I don't even know what it was like to be in quarantine. I had to work every day, but for those of you that's been on lockdown and been with your family, I'm pretty sure that one of the lessons that you learned was family is everything. Family is all that you need and all you can have. And then you have your friends that's close, that's family, right? I did some drive-bys to houses. You beep the horn, you give them different things, and you try to encourage them. But what I would say, appreciate people. Tell them you appreciate them. Tell them you love them. Don't let a conversation go by where you don't express that to them. Let them know. Oh, yep, Stacey, you're right. Family first. Family is a big thing. And I think one thing I could say, thank you to COVID for letting people know how important family is. I speak to my siblings on video conference probably 2 times a week, 3 times a week, way more than what we were doing before. But the main thing I wanted to share with people is, one thing is, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem, right? Another thing is this COVID / presidency / politics / civil unrest / Black Lives Matter movement has taught people to get involved, right? And I've seen this in Queens, where I am, in Southeast Queens, that a lot of organizations are springing up now because they realize there's a need to help your fellow man, right? So I want to say shout out to all of those organizations. Black Resource Network, we have the Lawton Farmers Market. You have a lot of different organizations popping up to address needs. Because one thing I learned very early in COVID was we have a food, I wouldn't say shortage, but believe it or not, a lot of people are not able to get food as readily as you would think, right? As readily as you probably can. So what I did was I used to go to the food pantries that was open, get a couple of boxes of food, and deliver it to people that I knew were having a rough time. And then eventually I noticed the churches and then a lot of the politicians were doing it. And then now these small groups popped up, and they started doing it. So I think that if we have to thank Donald Trump for one thing. He's made a lot of people get involved in the political process, pay attention to the political process, and help people that are in need. Because when you have a bad example of a leader, it'll force other people to be a good example of a leader. And so what I would say is the activism has to continue even after this election is over. You have to stay in the fight, because how we got to this point was because someone must have fell asleep at the wheel, right? And someone wasn't paying attention, and you got a lot of amateurs. This, I feel like this United States right now, or this city right now, is like amateur hour. It's like amateur night at the Apollo. People just don't seem like they know what they're doing that's in power, and we're going to have to take that back from them. But I started this conversation about Mike, right? Rest in peace to him, and Carmen. I pray for peace and comfort in this time, because I can just imagine when you lose the love of your life, or you lose your husband or wife, how much of a toll it's going to take on your family, especially when you have children, and for it to be unexpected, and no telling how many other deaths this person has dealt with, right? Or anybody, because I've noticed that one thing I can say is I haven't even been able to mourn my dead, because there's so many other situations that's occurring. You can't do it, right? You just can't. So what I would say is, if you believe in God, or you believe in a God, stay in prayer, right? I'm a new Christian, so I'm not even going to act like I know the Bible or anything else like that. But you have to stay in prayer. You have to stay encouraged. You have to constantly reaffirm to yourself in the mirror when you get up in the morning, everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be fine. Hello, Jacqueline. You're capable. You're sufficient. You can accomplish anything. You have to take this time to build yourself up, because at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is some more craziness is going to occur, right? And then no telling what 2021 is going to bring. Everyone tells me, oh, you got to be positive. You got to think, you got to think about the positive aspects of things. But I'm like, pay attention to what's going on in the world. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But if we know and we realize that we have to stick together to get through the tough times, we're going to make it just fine, right? Now, everybody talks about, police brutality. But if you're on the street with me, you'll see that police brutality is probably the last thing we need to worry about when it comes to the African American community, because at the end of the day, there's multiple issues that's going on now, right? I have mothers now that's losing their sons because people are getting shot and killed on a daily basis now, right? We have those unsaid victims. Because I also want to tell you a story about that. So last year around this time, we had maybe 25 murders in the Southeast Queens area, and it was within just a month. It was like 25. All of them was 25 and under. It was due to gang violence. The sad part is I used to be the youth officer for about 8 years in my precinct, so I want to say maybe 10 of the 25 I actually spoke to. I had some professional relationship with them, spoke to their parents, and to attend those funerals and see those bodies, those young black bodies under white sheets. It was a hard lesson to learn, right? That no matter what you can do, no matter what you you think you can do, you can't change the future, right? So on the anniversary of one of their deaths, I contacted the mother, and I wanted to give her my condolences again and my best wishes and everything. And she sent me a picture of her son's baby, right? He's the son's son was only 1 year old, and I'm saying to myself, this young man is going to grow up not knowing his father, probably, only seeing pictures and hearing what somebody else is going to say about him. So when we see these deaths on the news, or we see these deaths or these shootings, murders on the news, we don't think about the lasting, lifelong ramifications of that, right? You have a son now without his father. You have a girlfriend, wife without their husband, boyfriend. you have a mother without, their son. And why I'm mainly kind of concentrating on the child in the female aspect is, to be frankly and honest with you, they bear the brunt of every bad decision that we make, right? So, when crime is going haywire, who's actually being victimized the most? The elderly, females, and children, all the time, right? And I'll be honest with you, at this point now, at my age now, if you under 25, I still feel like you're a child, right? Because, your brain's not really formed because, so half the 25-year-olds I see are not making good decisions. So that's only, my perception. But, we have to come together and we have to figure out a better way to approach this situation, because this is unprecedented. No one was prepared for this. And I'll be honest with you, there's probably not anyone that you're going to come in contact with that ever could say that they know what's going to happen next or they've seen this before, right? It's unprecedented. So the main thing that we got to realize is, if you see something in your community that you think that you can help with, help. I don't care how small it is. I don't care what it is. Help. Be that beacon of light, right? If you see somebody down and out, just talk to them. Sometimes, people just need a listening ear. So if you need a listening ear, just say, hey, listen, I don't want no advice, but just give me an ear so that way I can just vent. Because some people are not going to go to the psychiatrist or therapist, but if a person actually cares and want to hear what you have to say, maybe that will help. Be as positive as possible. I see on social media, people are fighting back and forth about politics or whatever. I'm like, social media is a great tool. You don't have to be negative on it, right? If you don't have nothing good to say, what do they always tell you? Don't say nothing at all. So if you have something good to say and you can empower some people, use this platform. Before, it used to be, maybe 4 or 5 people that used to be let on television at a time. Now, you have a platform yourself now. You can reach millions and millions of people around the world and give them a positive message, not a negative one. So, in closing, what I would say is, cherish the people that you have, cherish the moments that you have, appreciate yourself first, appreciate other people, think about how positive and how much positivity you can pour into someone else, and try to be that beacon of light during these dark times, because these times are dark and they're probably going to be dark for a long time, but we got to be here for each other. I know at least I'm here for you. And if nobody told you today that they love you, I'm telling you, I love you. Be safe, God bless, and I'll talk to you later.